So my topic today is, what is your story and why is it important? So I'm going to start with a story of mine. Try to time myself here so that I don't go over.
We're not that exact. If you
I know, but I like to have an idea. So I'm going to start with a story of mine. What is your story and why is it important? I grew up with dogs. My parents always had dogs. Obviously, I'm an earth bearer. I love all of life, including pets. You can't hear me? Okay. Okay. I was saying I'm an earth bearer. I love all of life, including pets. Can you hear me now? Okay. We grew up with dogs. My parents, say a couple of years ago, had a dog named Zoe, a beautiful Boston Terrier. Originally, they had Ziggy and Zoe. They were brother and sister Boston Terriers. So at this point, Ziggy had already passed away. And Zoe took care of Ziggy like it was her baby, even though it was her brother. And now Zoe's getting older. And we all know that Zoe's not going to be around much longer. You know, things are starting to fail. She's an older dog. So it's a Saturday afternoon. And it's morning, and my plan for the day is I'm going to hit the local diner, grab some breakfast, run home, do a few things, and I'm going to go visit my folks and see Zoe. Like I said, I love animals, so I want to make sure I see Zoe. You know, at that point, I didn't have any sense that Zoe was leaving, immediately, but, we knew it wouldn't be much longer. So I wanted to go visit. So I do that. I go to my parents' house. And my parents are carrying on like it's any other day. I think my mom was doing her checkbook. My dad was at the computer. His computer was downstairs, and Zoe was down there with him. Now, when I come in the house, I haven't seen the dog yet. I just see my mom, so, it's a normal day. So I sit at the kitchen table with Mom. We're talking. Then my dad yells up to my mom that, not in a panic, but just, he wasn't crazy about the way Zoe was breathing. He was a little concerned. And my mom kind of blows it off. Oh, your dad, he's crazy about that dog. He's probably being dramatic. So I go down to see Zoe. And it's evident to me, as soon as I see her, she's struggling to breathe. Her belly's distended. She's ready to go. So as soon as I get there, I wrap my arms around her. She's on the floor. I wrap my arms around her. She immediately falls into my arms. Now, my parents, and I'm sure you've probably all been in this position, they love their animals. They might love them more than they love us kids, but they love their animals. So much so that they weren't seeing this. I mean, as soon as I saw her not living there, I knew it was time. She was suffering. They had love blinders on. They weren't seeing this. So Zoe collapses in my arms. My mom's standing there. My dad had left by then, go upstairs. And my mom says, "Is she going now?" I'm like, "Yeah, you might want to call Dad, come down." So he comes down. My dad's a retired police detective. He's the man in the house. He takes care of things. He had already called the vet. He was planning to take Zoe on Monday, and, if it was time, have her put to rest, he was in charge. Well, he sees that she's ready to go, and he falls apart. Not only because he's upset she's going, but, he had already taken care of it. It was planned, it was under control, and Zoe had other plans. So this just throws him for a loop. He falls apart. He can't believe she's dying. My mom sees it. Anyway, I'm holding Zoe. It's taking me longer to explain this than it took her to pass. I wrap my arms around her. My hand is on her chest, right where her heart is, so I can feel her heartbeat, and I can feel it as it gets slower and slower. So I know when she finally goes. And I say to my parents, she's going. Do you want to come and, hug her? And they're just so distraught. They're just standing there looking on in tears. They can't even, they're just so shocked. They had no idea, for some reason, had no idea this was coming. So I whisper a little prayer for Gaia and the angels, not that they need me to, but as humans, we feel like we have to do this for them to welcome Zoe back. And I say to her, go see Zigman. Zigman's waiting for you. That's what we called her brother, Ziggy. I called him Zigman anyway. So I'm like, Ziggy's waiting. Go see Zigman. And it was immediate. I'm holding her. She passes, and not to be gross, but if you've ever been in that position, your organs fail, certain bodily fluids are released. And mind you, as much as I love animals, I'm holding her. I'm consoling my parents. It's telling my dad, it's okay, Dad. You didn't fail her. So no, it's not okay. It's not okay. But I'm holding myself together. I'm not crying. I'm just holding her and being a strong one for my parents. So she passes. I tell them, do we have a blanket? We get her wrapped. We take her to the emergency vet so she can be cremated, all that stuff. Why am I telling you this story? Because before I left the house, I talked about nature and appreciating and talking to nature. This little stone, a ruby zoisite, was sitting on a little table by my front door as I was leaving to go see Zoe. Just as I'm shutting the door, I hear, "Take me." And I had stones and spoke with my stones for a while, but I never had one yell something out to me. So I'm closing the door, I open it again, I heard the "take me," and for an instant I'm thinking, really? But I gotta go, so I grab her, put her in my pocket, and I forget about her. This stone was the reason that I was able to hold it together for my parents. And the reason, yeah. Ordinarily I would have been a mess. I love pets. Bob will tell you if something happened to one of my cats now, you wouldn't be able to talk to me. I'd be a mess. But Ruby Zoisite came along, kept me strong. And what's even more is Zoe. Imagine the communication between animal and earth, stone, the earth mother. Zoe knew to wait for me. Even when we left the vet hospital, we were driving home, and my dad said, "Wow, Tam, obviously Zoe was waiting for you." Because I can't tell you how instant it was. Arms around, heart slowing down. It was like, okay, she's here, I can go now. And I was so honored that she would wait for me. But what's more is that there was a communication between the earth and Zoe, whether it was the power of place where my parents lived, communicating with the power of place where I lived, whether it was the tree in their yard, letting the trees in my yard know, to let somebody in Tammy's house know, make sure she has what she needs because she's going to have to be the strong one. But Zoe knew. Zoe knew I was coming. She knew that somehow that message was coming. I honestly don't know which earth beings, how that communication happened. As close as I am to the earth, I embody the earth. I can embody nature beings. But I haven't investigated how that happened. It doesn't matter. The point is, Zoe knew to wait. With all she was going through, she loved my parents enough, as much as she was suffering. She loved them enough to make sure somebody's there to get them through this. Because she knows my parents. They raised her. And knew well enough that they couldn't handle this. She knew they couldn't see what she was going through. Their love was blind, and they were going to need help to get through her transition. And so there was a communication between animal and earth and me to get me there, to be there for my parents, so Zoe could go peacefully and know that my parents were taken care of. So there's one of my stories. And why am I sharing this story? What's your story and why is it important? In today's world, and I think Leonard touched on this too, we all did, which is like you said, it's the fun part. When you gather people like this, including the speakers, it's funny how all the stories fit together like a puzzle piece. But today, more than ever, I think it's vital that you invite Mother Earth and all of life back into your stories. And what do I mean by that? Leonard talked about going to the tree. I don't know what conversations he had with that tree, if any. It may just be that the tree just exuded a comfortable feeling. Maybe there were no words exchanged. But the trees, the birds, the stream out here, the wind, the sun, the bees, the birds, the butterflies, the hippopotamus, whoever it is, they have stories to share with you. Not only do they have stories, they want to hear your stories. We need to bring them back into our story because of what's happening. Too many trees are being cut down for no good reason. I forget about real estate building and things that aren't really necessary. There are too many of them coming down. And mark my words, when the last tree comes down, we're done. We can't survive without the trees. We can't survive without the water. And people forget this. They think, oh, well, it's not a big deal for me to cut down this one tree that's blocking the sun from this window that I really needed to come in because there's so many other trees. But if everybody says, well, it's okay for me to cut this one down because there's so many, eventually there won't be so many, and we can't live without them. We need each other. So I mean, in your backyards, your front yards, if there's a bush or a tree or an animal or something that just seems to always get your attention, sit with it. Share your story or ask it for its story. It's one thing to meditate, and it's one thing, to take a few minutes to go outside and just appreciate looking, and that's wonderful, and continue to do that. But I'm saying to take it one step further and have a conscious relationship with them. It's vital. You see things on Facebook and email messages that friends send you that, we're getting to that point where it's going to be so vital. No, we're there. We're there now. It's so important. Leonard touched on species that are becoming extinct in our lifetime. In Pennsylvania, I hear people at work, especially people with fortunate enough to have acres of land in their yard. They can't believe there's so many deer. The deer eat my garden. The deer are in the road. They're in my way. If we hadn't done away with the wolf in Pennsylvania, you probably wouldn't have so many deer in your way. Mother Nature has the perfect plan. I don't know what makes man think that he knows better. But she has the perfect plan. It was perfect from the beginning. She doesn't need man to come in and tweak it or fix it or improve it. There's a reason for every being on the planet. There's a reason for all of life, and we all need each other. When the bees are in trouble, when the last bee is gone, that's a problem for us. That affects the rest of the species. That affects the flowers. It affects the rest of the wildlife. Her plan is perfect, and we all depend on each other. And we see this, inconvenience because of the way we live today, but we have to stop looking at it that way. I got something on Facebook recently that it was comical, but it was true. Talking about how people, with their lawns, how, they grow so lush, and then they keep cutting it, and it was a conversation between God and St. Francis, and I'm not going to remember it verbatim, but God said, talking about, what happened to the beautiful flowers and dandelions and things that we think of as weeds. And St. Francis is explaining how, people don't want that they want this perfect green lawn, and they pull the weeds, and they, spray them, and they cut the lawn. And so God's asking him about, well, are they collecting this grass? Is it a cash crop? And no, they put it in plastic bags, and they put it in the trash. And, the summer comes, and God says, oh, well, they must be relieved in the summer, the grass stops growing, there's not as much water, it's dry. And St. Francis is like, you're not going to believe this. They spend more money to water the lawn, to grow the grass, so they can cut it again. But anyway, the point is, don't take lightly the value of each and every life. The tree, the rabbit in your yard, the deer, the bumblebee, the ant, whatever it is. Appreciate it, give it love. Um, even your water. At home, I have cats. When I pour the water, I say a blessing over the water. We bless this water and all the waters in the world. You're beautiful. We love you. We thank you. Just something simple to be conscious. When you wake up in the morning. If you pray nothing else, pray thank you. Not just to your Creator, but to Mother Earth. When I wake up in the morning, I say good morning, Mother, because we have a very intimate relationship. We talk. I say good morning, Mother. Good morning, family. To me, family is not just my human family. It's the trees outside. It's the wind. It's the moon. It's the stars. It's the sun. Trust me, I have notepads and of so many conversations. There are so many possibilities for conversations that you can have with these beings. And the other thing to remember too, Leonard touched on, people get depressed and sad. You'd be surprised, when you feel like there's no human there for you, nature can be an amazing friend. I mean, it's always a friend. But when you think you're alone, you're really not. And that might be the best time of all to sit down and connect. You'll be amazed what you get. The wisdom that comes from a tree. It's just, they've been here lifetimes, long before you or your parents were here. They have so much to share, and it can be the tiniest little thing. Bob and I were in Ringing Rocks one time, and we passed a tree that looked like a deer or a bear or something had gotten to it, and Bob made a comment, that tree's dying, that tree's dying. I thought, I don't know, and I went over and I touched the tree, and we talked, and I asked him if he was dying, and he let me know that, in no uncertain terms, he had lots of years ahead of him. But the thing that stood out that he said to me was, "My wounds do not define me." That's a powerful statement. Leonard hears me. My wounds do not define me. Who can't relate to that? We've all experienced some kind of pain in life. And a tree told me this. I've been to therapists in my lifetime. I've had all kinds of different friends. That's what I'm saying. I've had all kinds of human connection, but I needed a tree to say, my wounds do not define me. That's pretty powerful. So today I invite you to invite the earth into your life in a conscious way. And it doesn't have to be out loud, speak from your heart. You can sit under a tree in silence and have that conversation from your heart. The tree will hear you. And if you're lucky, it may not happen the first time, depending on how connected you are and open. But when you open yourself up, they'll have a message for you. They may have a whole story for you. And that's my story.
Thank you.